What challenges can you expect to go through when starting your startup? Coming up now. Welcome back to AskMeStartUp, the channel where we talk about startups and small businesses and the world that surrounds them. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and pushing the notification bell. So today's topic, what challenges can you expect when you're working on your startup? Now, running a startup, any business, is of course a challenge in its own, but knowing what to expect might reduce anxiety and the fear of starting a business. So here are my key takeaways from my personal experience running and living in a startup for more than 5 years now. Challenge number one, finding the money. Money is the biggest thing in startups because most of the times you have high upfront investment costs and you are unlikely to find customers right away. Of course, there are startups and companies that have customers up from the start and they have a cash flow that works perfectly for them. But most of the time, especially if you're trying to push your invention to a product, you are going to need a lot of money. That's when investors come into play, and finding investors can be and will be a big challenge. Let's assume you found the investors you were looking for and you have all the money that is required for you to work properly. Great. So what's the next problem you might come across? And that is time constraints. If you are, having your plan, you have your money that is lasting, let's say 1.5 years, you need to be done by 1.5 years. There's no time to lose, and that might cause you to have sleepless nights, and a lot of things will go wrong because there's no plan, even if you come up with a plan, that will work according to it. Hence, shifting, adaptation all the time is essential for you and your team to complete your tasks. Which brings me to the next point. Finding the right team members. Finding the right team members for a startup is even more essential and crucial than it is for any large entity or corporation. Now, in large corporations, if you find someone new, you hire them and he's not the right guy, okay, you get rid of him 6 months later and nothing much has, changed and the business is not put at risk. But in a small startup, in a business where you are maybe just 5, maybe 10, if one of you fails, you're putting the whole thing at risk. This is a bigger challenge for anybody out there, but finding the right people will take time, and time is nothing you have at your disposal. The next thing you will come across is you forget about marketing and sales. Is your product marketable? Is there a market for your product? Does your customer or the customers you think that exist, do they really want to buy from you? Let's assume that they do. You will be faced with problems or challenges in a way that customers might be super happy, excited, and dream of it, and you propagate your product all over the place. That would be match on, you would be a winner. But more likely than not, what is going to happen is that customers are dissatisfied with the product, and hence they will talk about it in social media, for instance. You are going to fight uphill if you are not prepared for such a situation. Hence, putting customers first and customer service first is an essential thing that you need to be aware that it will come across if you're trying to sell a product or service. The next big thing you will struggle with are legal constraints. The legal environment might be stable for a couple of years, but it is likely to shift. And just be aware that the big companies have their influencers out all over the place in the legal departments. What I want to say with this. Now, many legal requirements, ISO norms, standards, whatever not, have been designed as a way to keep competitors off, which means that they are likely to change or increase in difficulty. Hence, it will make it more or less unlikely for you with your new product to go to market. This should be on your radar all the time, and I'm going to give you an example. For instance, right now there's a shift between MDD and MDR, which is the Medical Device Directive, and this shift actually causes a lot of companies to lose their business because they are not able to comply with the required documentation and standards that are now in place. This is a very good example why you should be aware that the legal requirements are essential for you to understand, and you should track them at all time because you need to be aware upfront when things are going to change for your startup and business, because that's when you need to pivot your idea as fast as possible. The next thing that you're going to face are long stretches of dry spell and uncertainty. You have your great product, you are thinking everything works according to plan, you are, getting some minor successes, or technology develops itself in such a way that you're happy with the results and the outcome, but the money isn't flowing yet. Customers are not paying. Maybe you don't find as many customers as you expected to find. Maybe there are other fights that you have to fight that you're putting your focus on. These times are the most crucial ones to go through and to, build your team in a way that they are expecting this and that they are able to prevail in this situation. When they are through this, the sky is the limit, but until then, you will have to deal with this dry spell and uncertainty. The next thing that you can expect, and that is something many people are looking for, is the purpose-driven work. Many people start businesses and want to work for startups because they like the purpose, the idea that is behind a certain service or product. In our case, since we're working on cancer diagnostics, many people would love to help here, and they want their name to be, linked with the idea of having a new technology out there that will help to save lives in the future. Now, this purpose and meaningful ways of, finding employees is great for attraction, but it is also very important for the times when things are rough and maybe lengthy in a process. The next thing you're definitely going to find is big companies fighting you. Let's say you have a brilliant idea of a service or product that most likely in one way or another is already out there. Hence, those competitors that are already out there have their market presence. They will fight and they will put a lot of effort and money in getting rid of you. There are different ways of doing that. For you, the best way most likely will be that they buy you up. Yeah, your product idea might just gone in their drawers and you will never see it on the market, but at least they paid you for it. Or they would just kill you by raising the legal barriers, or fighting you on legal claims, or on patents, or they are just, propagating to the government that they should use other technologies instead. Whatever is the case, these things will come up and you will have to be aware and have to have measures in place how to deal with them. One of them being having a proper network. And networking, of course, is essential. And everybody knows the saying, my net worth is my network. Nonetheless, even if that would be true, some essential know-hows and networks that you have are key factors for your startup to survive. Because if you don't have the right people on your hands, you might be the last one to get informed of changes that are ahead. The next big thing and challenge for startups are their founders. Very often, those founders have an idea or had an idea at the beginning, and they believe that this idea is the way everything should be executed, despite of customers telling them different, despite of their employees telling them different. This stubbornness can work, but most of the times it will not. And most of those entrepreneurs fail because they fail to recognize that the outside world is more important than your inside thinking. And that brings me to my last point. One of the key and crucial challenges you will face is having poor or no mentorship. I've seen so many entrepreneurs that think, they are the greatest on the planet, they can deal with it, and that's what they need, and then they run off. They don't listen to anybody. But I can tell you, you need a mentor. You need someone who challenges your thinking. You need someone who has maybe been there and has had some experience and is asking you questions you cannot answer right now. The main part of a mentor is to help you guide through the nebula that you're not seeing through those clouds that are currently in your vision and are not allowing you to steer in the right direction. All right. I hope you liked this video. Just leave a comment down below on what are the challenges that you've been facing, and I see you next time.